Miami Heat may have just figured out the blueprint to what they can work to build off of for the remainder of this season and really turn this slow start into maybe a nice little sprint to give themselves some cushion in the Eastern Conference. I'm going to talk about all the good that came out of the Miami Heat's win over the 76ers this past Monday, as well as hopefully more of you guys subscribing to the Heat Digest channel and what we continue to try and build here to give you guys as much Heat content and Heat news as possible. The 76ers game for the Miami Heat was a big win. Absolutely no question about it. It was the win that they were looking for. It was the win that they needed, to be honest with you, because the Miami Heat, when you are put your backs against the wall, the Miami Heat always seem to respond, and they respond in pretty good fashion. Obviously, that first quarter was not what the Heat wanted, 33-25 in favor of the 76ers, but that second quarter, very solid going into the half, only down by 3. And the third quarter, what has haunted, what has just absolutely been a thorn in all Miami Heat fans and Heat organization members as well side for the entire start of this season. Arguably, if not flat out, the best third quarter the Miami Heat have had all season. 35-16, right there alone. That was a good quarter for the Miami Heat, because we know just how bad the third quarter has been for the team, and obviously you hold off and winning the final quarter by 1 point for the 89-106 victory over the 76ers. This game felt like everything that could go right went right for Miami, in the sense of, again, the third quarter was not a problem. The Miami Heat offense, while slow at the beginning, did eventually pick up. You did have, what I think is a nice underlying story, according to the All You Can Heat blog that I was looking at and researching from this game. Terry Rozier was obviously out with a right foot discomfort, not necessarily injury, but discomfort that he apparently sustained in Indiana, or got worse in Indiana, I should say, and he has apparently been playing with it for a majority of this season already. So the Heat had their third starting lineup of the season: Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy Butler, Haywood Highsmith, and Bam Adebayo. Now, the group, according to the blog, 51.7% field goal percentage and 40% from 3 en route to outscoring the Sixers in just under 12 minutes by 12 points. This lineup, although on paper maybe wasn't one of the lineups people thought of when we were going into the season, it definitely does give a little bit of possibility for Eric Spoelstra and the staff to kind of play with some things. Because obviously you go small with Highsmith at the 4, Jimmy at the 4, but you give yourself spacing. And even though you're small, you still are athletic. You still have ability to cover space. You can still be a good enough defense where the offense is willing to you're willing to risk it, because the offense can give you so much more now. Yes, Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero are still going to be a little bit of question marks in that lineup for defensive purposes, but Tyler Hero has been playing much better. Duncan Robinson offensively, I think he's going to start getting his groove. I don't know if this is a lineup that Coach Spoelstra is going to stick with. Now, the Heat don't play again until Sunday when they host the Dallas Mavericks. By then, I expect Rozier to be back, or at least somewhat back. Maybe he's not starting, but he'll probably be on some type of minutes restriction, or maybe he'll be worked in off the bench. So we'll see if that lineup stays, if it's going to be tinkered with a little bit, if it's going to be a lineup that Coach Spo likes to go to throughout the season, because I'm not calling it the key to solve all our problems offensively and the thing that's going to, the death lineup for the Miami Heat. No, not at all. But it is nice to see a new lineup that worked, that could maybe turn into a lineup that Coach Spo uses, later on in big games and big moments to try and get wins that the Miami Heat really need to start stacking up. Because even though there was a point at the beginning of the season where the East was just absolutely awful, flat out, teams are starting to separate themselves, and Miami Heat cannot be caught on the back end of that separation, because then they're going to be playing catch-up the entire season, and that's not what we want to see. Now, individually, this was, no question about it, a Jimmy Butler game. It was a Jimmy game through and through. Jimmy Butler had his best game of the season without question. 30 points for Jimmy. The biggest thing that I noticed, and obviously you can see it here from the report, Jimmy got the first 3 possessions to him. They played through him, got a Duncan Robinson 3 out of a post pass from Jimmy. Then he got 2 buckets on his own back-to-back. Jimmy Butler has been notorious since joining the Miami Heat for being a little bit kind of go with the flow in the beginning of games. We understand what he is, who he is, what he can be for the Miami Heat. But we also know that he has had moments throughout his tenure with Miami where you wonder where Jimmy is. And this season, to be honest, it has not been the start that we thought he would have. We thought he would come in on a contract year and all the things that were said in the offseason and all the media day stuff or stuff that wasn't a media day where he was just his normal Jimmy Butler self. We thought, okay, we've got a serious Jimmy. We've got a locked in Jimmy. He's going to come in and absolutely run amok throughout the season, at least to start the year. Didn't do that. Averaging just under 20 points a game going into this one. Obviously, got hit with the injury bug. You didn't feel like it was a Jimmy Butler start that he would have wanted. And I think, obviously, none of the Heat fans would have liked anything more than a Jimmy Butler to come out and throw the first punch and set the tone for the team. He did that this game. Biggest reason was he was the focal point of the offense. All Miami Heat fans have been clamoring for the turning of the guard, the passing of the torch. This should be Jimmy. It should be Bam, Tyler, and Jaime's team for the next, season or two. And I agree with that. I'm on board with that. But Jimmy Butler is still arguably one of the best players in the association, top 25, top 30, easily in my opinion. We know what he can be in the playoffs. We know he can be as a closer when that winning time does come. I think the Miami Heat can do what they did this past game and still be able to give those young guys the rightful attention that they have earned and flat out deserve. You can run an offense through Jimmy Butler while still not letting him or having him be your go-to guy per se. You can still have him be the playmaker, the decision maker, in that elbow area, mid-post area, playing with dribble handoff with Bam, playing with ball screen action with him and Hero. I think Jimmy Butler can do that. And I think that is what we saw this past game. Obviously, he's going to give you your 30s every now and then, but how he gives you your 30s is very important. Are we looking at Jimmy Butler just getting ISO touches every time down? That might not be good for the long term. But if he's getting action, movement, and just kind of scoring in the flow of the offense, in the flow of the game, you load that for Jimmy. Less load on him. He's not going to be as prone to getting injured now because he doesn't have to shoulder so much attention. And now we have a Jimmy Butler that's rested and ready to go and is able to build chemistry with the team, which has been the biggest thing the past season or two, that the Heat just can't stay healthy long enough to really build that cohesiveness together. Now, obviously, Jimmy Butler historically has had a very, very good run-in with the 76ers since joining Miami. But this is only his second 30-point game. So while we know what Jimmy likes to do when he plays against his former teams, whether it be the Timberwolves, the Bulls, whatever. When it's been the Sixers since joining back in 2019, he really hasn't had dominant games. He's had great games, but only one 30-plus point game before this past game, and that was back in 2020. 38 points, just shy of the 40 ball. It's been a little bit, of a slower pace the past few years, even though they've seen him in the playoffs and whatnot. But I think this is a good game for Jimmy just because what it could mean moving forward for the rest of the season and what it could mean for him specifically. Again, this is a contract year, and Jimmy Butler wants to try to get paid and stay as a Miami Heat. And we all would love him to stay for the right price and right fit, of course. But we need to make sure, and Pat Riley obviously has come out and said this, I've been on record, he wants Jimmy Butler to prove that he can be healthy and be that leader that this team needs and is looking for, even as they go into the next era of Miami Heat basketball. With that being said, how much stock do we put into this game as Heat fans? My opinion, I go to this graphic from the Heat clutch points, and according to Tim Bontemps, not in a rush. The Miami Heat have not been in a rush. They have come out, Pat Riley has come out and said that the plan was always to wait and see. No matter what has been going around the association, we talk about trade rumors and stars unhappy and teams not playing well and slow starts and whatnot, or teams playing really well and this and the other. The Miami Heat always said they were going to stay pat. What do we have? Again, you have Bam, you have Tyler, you have Jaime, who were presumed to be the corner pieces moving forward. You just drafted Khalil Ware, who you really haven't seen much of. You've had some second round and undrafted guys really step up. You still have a Jimmy Butler who, in the right situation, could give you a great chance to be a really, really tough out to even a fringe contender if you put the right pieces around him. This game is not the, key has been unlocked, the secrets are out. This is what Miami Heat need to do to win an NBA championship this season. Absolutely not. I don't think this game honestly moved the needle for me in the long-term aspect. But what it does do for me is gives me hope as a Heat fan that they can figure it out now, and we're not figuring it out in Christmas and in January and February when we should be already have figured it out and trying to just solidify what we have. The Miami Heat understand that this is going to be a marathon, not a sprint. So they're not going to be hasty to make moves and try and, flip guys here and sign guys there. They're going to wait and see. Understand that a lot of the league can't even be traded right now until December 15th, I believe, and then January 15th, even for those free agents. So there's no really rush to get into it. You understand that there are some, top names, and we've mentioned it on the channel already, that it might be on the trade market because of the team struggling. But you also understand that that's all rumors until someone comes out and says, hey, I want to be traded. So the Miami Heat right now, they're going to stay pat. They're going to stay focused on their own group and try and build from within. I personally not going to say, again, it's not a needle-moving game for me, but it does give me more confidence moving forward as the season progresses and going into this Dallas game on Sunday, which I do believe the Miami Heat have a great chance of not just winning, but winning by double digits plus, just because, again, Mavericks kind of off to a rocky start. Miami can use this rest, which is really, really big for them. Take advantage of this kind of weird, just weak or niche in the system, in the schedule for them. Get healthy. I'm expecting to have Hero back. Hopefully Jaime is back, and just kind of go into the first game of the season, I feel like, with a full, healthy Heat team. With that being said, but go ahead and comment down below how much stock or how much has this game moved you in the short term, not the long term, but the short term, on what the season was before this game and what it could possibly be moving forward. With that being said, we'll see you guys in the next episode of Heat Digest.